All right, we're here with Malki Kawa, the manager of Carlos Condit, president and CEO of First Round Management. Carlos Condit returning to the octagon on Saturday night against George St-Pierre. Biggest profile career fight for Carlos Condit. And what has this whole process been like, Malki, in terms of Carlos Condit and just how big his image has really grown since that Nate Diaz fight, where he has now become one of the major stars within mixed martial arts?
Yeah, I mean, the process has been really interesting, been a long road, you know what I mean? After the Nate Diaz fight, you know, we're expecting to have a fight with George and, you know, not knowing when he's going to come back and the whole nine. Waiting all this time and finally getting here, it's just kind of like it's you know, satisfactory. You know, hopefully Saturday goes the way we expect it to go, and then his profile and everything continues to grow. But, you know, he had a big fight against Nate Diaz. It made him into a star, both on the good side and bad side. It was controversial. A lot of people thought he lost. A lot of didn't like his style, but it made people talk about him. And now against George St-Pierre, we're expecting a great performance and, you know, hopefully the victory and continue to keep people talking about him.
How frustrating was that for yourself and Carlos, knowing that George St-Pierre, he had the constant recovery period. We didn't know when he was going to be back, and Carlos just kind of had to play the waiting game that entire time.
You know, Carlos is such a professional that what happened is, instead of him worrying so much about George St-Pierre, he worried about himself. So in the last 9 months, all he did was just train and fix all the holes in his game and work on improving things that were good, made them better, and things that weren't good, you know, made them good. And that's the thing that I think people will see this Saturday is you got a guy that now knows how to fight smart, that has improved in certain areas that, you know, he needed improvement in, and has improved upon areas that he was good in. So the Carlos Condit you guys are going to see on Saturday is a stronger, faster, and better Carlos Condit.
We also have the primetime series here documenting the whole build-up for this fight. This is the second straight camp that Carlos has had all of this treatment. I'm curious from your perspective, because you're kind of put in the role here, I imagine, as kind of the guy that's got to lay down the ground rules on behalf of Carlos. Is it ever difficult when you're dealing with kind of this added focus on a fight where cameras are in there every single day? Carlos obviously wants his time to train and remain sane throughout this whole period. You know, what's that like?
It's you know, it depends on the fighter. So if the fighter is okay with it, then it's kind of okay. You know, there's times they'll pull me to the side and say, hey, dude, I can't do this anymore. You know, get them out of here. And then, you know, but they've got requirements and things they've got to get done. So, you know, it's all a lot of, you know, managing the time and how can I, all right, well, listen, if we get them out now, can we do it later? Sure. You know, and things of that nature. So it just comes with it. I've done this with, you know, Jon. Got to do it with Ben Henderson. It's not something I'm not used to doing. It's not something I'm not used to dealing with when it comes to these guys. But, you know, Carlos is easy to work with. So for him, it's like, all right, let's just knock it out, get it out of the way, and keep going. So
he seems someone that, you know, just counting down here to the biggest fight of his career against George, someone that very much a grounded guy, someone that I don't think gets really hit by, you know, all of this media attention, all of the focus on this, on what is going to be one of the biggest cards of the year. Yeah,
he's just a consummate professional. Guy's just, you know, to him, he's been successful all this time doing it a certain way. And he's not going to change that now because it's George St-Pierre.
I also want to get an update. Jon Jones is currently filming The Ultimate Fighter right now alongside Chael Sonnen right now. Obviously, without giving anything away right now, what was the decision process there? Was Jon, you know, interested right away to go in and coach, because it's a big commitment on the part of a fighter, and Jon's at a level right now where he really doesn't need that kind of exposure. He's already at that level.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, The Ultimate Fighter has been here's my thing with The Ultimate Fighter. They moved it to Wednesday, which I think is a great move for the show. And I think that should allow more fans to come to it being on FX. And I think it is good for Jon, regardless of how big of a star he is or not. This is an opportunity for fans to really see Jon in a different element. A lot of times what we see is these interviews, and we see the Octagon performances, and we see, you know, people that have called them, and then they write something up, and you don't really get to actually see the fighter, you know, in other elements. And now in this case, you get to see Jon Jones as a coach, dealing with people he's never met before, coaches he, you know, not necessarily has coached with before or has been coached by, because some of the coaches there are not his, you know, his regular coaches and all that stuff. So, you know, you've got a lot of different dynamics there. I think it's good for him. His process wasn't necessarily like, oh, let me coach the Ultimate Fighter. But, you know, as the fans kept on wanting this fight with Chael, you know, he decided that, you know, hey, if the fans really want to see it, he's talking, you know, let's just get to work.
And how's the arm right now coming off the Vitor Belfort fight?
He's still rehabbing it. The arm is doing, you know, a lot better than we thought it would be. It's definitely injured. It definitely has, you know, some serious stuff going on with it, but he's, you know, rehabbing it, doing well with it. And, you know, the kid's a freak, man. I don't know. You know, he hurts himself in the Rampage fight. He can't walk. We got to ice him, pull him up there. 3 days later, he's walking. You know what I mean? The Rashad fight, you know, he busts, or after the Rampage fight, he busts his thumb. We can't do, you know, he's torn ligaments in his thumb. You know, kid can't do anything with it. You know, a week later, he's back to being normal. So I don't know. Like, there's a lot of, you know what I mean? Like with Jon, it's just he's a freak. So, you know, his arm is messed up. but he swears to me it's not. He's, you know, he could do pull-ups, he could do push-ups, and then, but you know, he puts it through different tests and different things, and some days it hurts more than others. But he's rehabbing it. He's on point. He's on schedule. You know, Jon Jones will be back, and he's gonna be a very, very damn good fighter.
And last thing I just want to touch on is Benson Henderson, who you mentioned. He will be taking on Nate Diaz. And for him, biggest platform of his career, headlining the Fox card coming up December the 8th. This is going to be a career changer, I think, for Benson. And all of the publicity going into this, you have the tie-in with the NFL playoffs are going to be going on at that time. So this is going to be huge, I think, for Benson.
We're looking forward to it. We expect it to be huge. I mean, you got to remember, this is a guy that's a champion that's fighting on Fox. So when you fight on Fox, you know, it takes away different, you know, things when it comes to the amount of money you can make and all that. But we know we looked at it and like, look, this is an opportunity to really grow, you know, Ben Henderson from being Ben Henderson the fighter to Ben Henderson into a megastar. And that's what we're hoping December 8th does. A decisive victory over Nate Diaz will definitely propel him into stardom.
And I know I said last question. This will be my real last question. When you are out there and you're talking to many different advertisers, a lot maybe who have not been within the mixed martial arts industry before, does Fox kind of speak to them at a different level than, you know, pay-per-view buys might? Because Fox is something, it's universal whether you're a fight fan or not.
You know, the funny thing about it is that if people really look at the numbers, you know, and you listen to the numbers that are reported on pay-per-view, it's not necessarily what you think it is. So, but everybody wants to be on the pay-per-view cards. These Fox cards are just as good, if not better, and a lot of times when it comes to viewership. And when you get a card as stacked as this one, December 8th, as an advertiser, you want to get on it. And it is Fox. Bottom line, it speaks to them. You know, what spoke to a lot of the people I'm talking to is Nike. The fact that Nike's gotten in has made a big, you know, impact there. The fact that the UFC is across how many different continents, you know, how big are they in Brazil? How big are they here in Canada? You know what I mean? And they're big in the US. So when you're an advertiser, when you're any company, and you look at it and you say, wow, I can be on a guy, you know, and it might cost me X, and then you go find this guy and it might cost you Y, and then you come see me and it's going to cost you way more than both those guys combined. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, these guys have these options. It's a lot. It's just, you know, the best thing that they can possibly do, where they can put their money into MMA, into the UFC. It blows my mind that a lot of these advertisers will put millions of dollars into a football player, for example. And you tell me, well, you know, so-and-so has a sponsorship with you know, Gatorade, for example. Sounds great to me. But I've never seen Gatorade on some of these guys' stuff. You can't put it anywhere. You have to go create these commercials on this other stuff. Now you have an opportunity to do the same thing with an MMA guy, probably for a lot less money, depending on the guy, right? And put the patch on the guy. Have that, you know, where you can put it on the guy, you know what I mean, going into the octagon. So you have that brand, you know what I mean, relationship and stuff between the fighter and the brand. And at the same time, you can still go do your commercials and everything else that you do. And a lot of these advertisers are starting to see that. And I think little by little, you know, with the more the UFC continues to expand and reach different people, different places, I think it'll, you know, it'll work out okay.
Well, I think I could talk to this man for hours. Carlos Condit, he takes on George St-Pierre Saturday night from the Bell Center in Montreal, Quebec. That's a sponsor calling.
Yeah, it is.